Hi guys, welcome back to the Library of Alexandria. And today I'm going to be talking about Boosh, the Scarab Path, Book 5 of the Shadows of the Apt series by Adrian Tchaikovsky. So, not a whole bunch of people watching this video, as it is a review of Book 5 of a 10-part series. Now, I don't care, because there needs to be more content online about this series for those of us who have read the series, or who are, in my case, reading the series. Because it sucks that, there's only, people are only talking about, like, the first book. They only review, like, the first book, because who's gonna watch a video on the second book, or the third book? Especially if they did not read the first book. So, but I don't care. I don't care, because this so greatly deserves to be talked about. I will be discussing this and all the ones after it, because it's that freaking good. It's that good. So, without wasting any more time,
Let's get down to business.
let's talk about the Scarab Path. Now, it has been 3 years. I read this in November of 2024. And 2021, November of 2021 is when I finished Salute the Dark, which was book 4. We had initially run a read-along of the first arc, which is the first 4 books, Empire in Black and Gold, Dragonfly Falling, Blood of the Mantis, and Blood of the Mantis, and Salute the Dark. And when we finished it, I was eager to continue, but I polled, the Demos, and said, are we gonna keep reading it or whatever? And a couple people said yes. The loyalists said yes. But then everyone's like, nah, I don't think I'm gonna continue or whatever. And I was like, all right, okay, let's do something else. And who knows? Maybe that was the next one was freaking Emperor's Blades. That was the first time that I listened to the Demos, and I should not have, because it was awful. Because all of the loyalists read it and loved it, and I have not gotten back to it till 3 years later. And it's so foolish. It is so foolish, because right away, this book just grabbed me like by the frickin' shirt collar and dragged me along. This book is almost 700 pages, and I read it in 3, maybe 4 days, which is just ludicrous for me, whom hates long books and reads really slow. It was a good thing. I mean, I was on vacation and driving a bunch when my wife was driving, so I was able to read in the car, but still, man, so good. So, the second arc picks up after, I think it's been a couple years, after the first arc, and the first arc is the war with the Lowlands, where the Wasp Empire has gone to war with the Lowland cities. And, you have the Wasp Empire and all of the first of all, Shadows of the Apt is one of my favorite military fantasy series ever. Like, if you like military fantasy and aren't reading Shadows of the Apt or haven't read Shadows of the Apt, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing. There is so much war, and it's not just, pointless war. It's war with characters we care about, and war with interesting tactics, which is, it's not just, all feel normie, boom, boom, boom. No. Shadows of the Apt, one of my favorite things it has to say is the technological progression that is forced by war. In fact, it argues that the main way that technological progress is achieved is through the necessity of needing to innovate during war. So the weirdest thing is that all of the races they're not bugs, but they have evolved from alongside insects. And so the beetle kindin, they're called kindin. So they're not beetles, but they have some abilities of beetles. Like the wasps can shoot fireballs out of their hand. That's their sting. The ants can communicate via hive mind, like the Borg. And I love the ants because they're Spartan, completely Spartan. And Collegium, the main city in the lowlands, is Athens. It's freaking, guys, it's the Golden Age Athens, where they have their little assembly that they address, no, we shouldn't do that. They're at war constantly with the ant people. But our main character is Stenwald Maker in the first 4, and he keeps sending his proteges and relatives, children, whatever, to investigate things, and they get embroiled in stuff. And anyway, the first 4 books are about that first Lowlands War, and spoiler alert, it ends with the the death of the emperor and the mosquito kindin that was manipulating him to like release some great darkness. And a bunch of people die. Not the characters I want, but a bunch of people die. And so it's 2 years later, and there is a tentative peace between the Wasp Empire with their new empress and the Lowlands. And the head of the Lowlands, kind of spearheading that treaty is War Master Stenwald Maker, who is a Beetlekinden. Now, the whole premise of the Scarab Path, which, let me just go ahead and say, there ain't no scarabs in this book, y'all. Like, there's not nary a scarab to be seen.
What? No.
There's no scarabs in this book. None. None. Not a one is there a scarab. I was expecting, like, to be swarms, like in the freaking Mummy. No. Not a dang scarab to be seen. But this takes place in Khanaphes, which is, it's very clearly analogous to ancient Egypt. And what a cool setting. It's, a kind of a rumored city. It's not really on any of the modern maps, and it's way, way, way east, even farther east than the farthest we have been, which is the Excelcy, which is kind of like the Venetian, like Italian kind of city-state type Renaissance merchant princes thing. It's just a great setting. Like I mentioned The Mummy before, it feels like that. Like it feels like the beginning of The Mummy. And the opening chapter, from the opening chapter, it's creepy as heck. There is some mystery there that we know we're going to try to get to the bottom of. And it is just like, it was enough to immediately keep me turning the pages. Now, this war is over, and back in Collegium, they are the same as they have always been. This is what always happens when the safe, affluent classes are not immediately in danger. They immediately forget everything that they had to do to kind of band together, and this whole idea of collective citizenship, all of that's kind of thrown out the window. And they're just lazy where they wouldn't have been during the war effort. They're lazy, and they're just like consuming. They're trying to get everything they can, because one thing that the war did is it opened up the experience of the Lowlanders to other peoples, like to different peoples outside the Lowlands. Most of these people haven't been outside the Lowlands and aren't aware of all of these different kindin and societies that are beyond the Lowlands or even beyond the Wasp Empire. And so there's this like thirst for knowledge among these academics to know everything they can about these people. And it's exotic. It's exotic and it's foreign. So everyone is like, ooh, picking up every bit of rumor. And one of Stenwald's colleagues says, people are falling over themselves trying to be more misinformed than their neighbors about distant lands. So there's this consumerist desire to get every piece of gossip and rumor that they can get, and none of it's accurate. Like no one actually knows anything. But to quote Arian in his Life of Alexander the Great, when people don't have all the facts, they rush to fill it with whatever they want it to be. And so it's not quotes, paraphrase, but that's what everybody's doing. So everybody's rushing like, oh, I want to know more than my neighbor, because it's just these rich classes, trying to make sure that they are the most important, and so thus have the most gossip. So in Scarab Path, we have a lot of the same characters as the previous arc. Tanissa, the mantis, the spider, half mantis girl, she is gone away, and this bothers Sten. He doesn't know where she is, and it irritates her. But Stenwald is not in it much. He's at the beginning. But this is really Che's book, Cheerwell Maker, Stenwald's niece, and that sucks because Che is far and away the worst part of this book, and it sucks because she's the main character. But when I say she's the worst, it doesn't mean she's intolerable. She is better. This book does show some growth in Che, which is good. She is not purely reactionary. This is one of the reasons I don't like Che, is she's a bumbler. She bumbles from one thing into another, and then she has to be like rescued out of whatever trouble she bumbled into. I don't know why she's a beetle. She should be a bumblebee. She's the worst. Like, she can't do anything. in this book, finally, she gets a little bit of her own agency and stops being just a freaking clown and a drag to read about. And then we have Thalric, who was him. Stenwald and Thalric were my favorite characters from the first 4 books. And this is Stenwald light, but there's a whole bunch of Thalric, and I love Thalric, the Wasp, Rekef, which is kind of like their spy network. Formerly of the Rekef, and he betrayed the Empire by working with Stenwald and them, but only because they tried to kill him first. And now he's the consort of the Empress, and some people still want him dead, and the Empress uses him as kind of validation because the Wasp have never been governed by a female, and whatever. But everything they have in common is Khanaphes. And what I like most about this book is the character work. There's new characters, or these old characters that we see. You don't see this a lot in fantasy, and maybe that's just because the books end after the wars. So, the war ends at the end of book 3, and then the series is over, whatever, so we don't get to see a lot of the post-war stuff. And this I think Tchaikovsky does so well. He does this so well in Guns of the Dawn. The book does not end with the war being over. Like, there are pages remaining after the war ends. And I think Tchaikovsky does this so well in showing their PTSD, like the ways that the war has changed them. The war may not have changed the cities very much, because the cities tend to be elastic and they kind of snap back into place after the crisis is over because, we're not in danger now. But those who were right in the thick of it, Che, Thalric, Stenwald, even Tanissa, who isn't there, and Taki. All of these people are changed by the war, and they are profoundly affected by the people they lost. Tissamon dying in book 4, Stenwald's old friend, and Che affected by frickin' the death of Akios, and who cares? Oh my gosh, she's intolerable at the beginning of this book, guys. Like, oh. I didn't like Akios in the books he was in, and so I hate him now too, because all Che does, Akios, stupid Mothkindin, he sucks. So, but everyone is changed by the war. Thalric, I love his development. Thalric can't go back, having sided with the Lowlanders briefly. Even though he's embroiled back in the Empire's machinations, he can't fully embrace everything for the Empire at the expense of all others, because he understands the Lowlanders now, and they understand him. So he's been basically tainted, like social contagion from the Empire's enemies has changed the neural pathways in his brain, and so he's grappling with that. Sten is grappling with the fact that he knows war is coming again. Stenwald's playing 4D chess. This is why I love him. I love intelligent characters trying to play against each other. So Stenwald knows that the war is not over. His friends are like, hey, Sten, the war's over. And he says, no. The war is currently not active. And there is a difference. And he's like, only me and Thalric really understand that the war is currently not active. It is not over. Stenwald is well aware that the war is coming back, and he is trying to shore up alliances and everything he can for when that eventually happens. And so, yeah, these people they're not the same. Their personalities are either drastically different or subtly different. Thalric, with that contagion, he has a broader perspective than just this narrow focus on the Wasp Empire. And he has also gone from being a major in the Gestapo to being powerless, because as regent he has no power. Like, no one respects him at all. No one is afraid of him. He is a powerless, impotent figurehead, and he has gone from being this incredibly terrifying force that if he shows up, people wet their pants, to now he's just been castrated, and he can't do anything. He has no authority to do anything. No one is afraid of him. Everyone just kind of addresses him. Oh yeah, oh your highness, oh you yes sir, of course sir. But no one really respects him. They just want him to go away so they can continue with their lives, because he can't actually punish them in any way if he's mad. And so Thalric has gone from this powerful figure to lacking any kind of power at all, and he is struggling and trying to find his post-war role. And he's really just kind of wants to kill himself. And so anyway, the plot picks up as Stenwald sends Che to go investigate Khanaphes, and the main thing, the two main things that Che is struggling with is the death of Achaeus, which nobody cares. More interesting is the fact that with the ritual at the end of Salute the Dark, where Achaeus, like his kind of like essence, I guess, went into Che somehow, whatever. She has become inapt. And what that means in the context of this, if you've forgotten, is that the apt races can use technology like door handles or crossbows, and the inapt cannot, because the inapt did not need technology. They had magic, and I think it was the Beatles, and I don't know if I forget what other races did, but it's certainly the Beatles, who were the slaves of like the moths. They rebelled and overthrew their magic using overlords, because the magic users, the inapt, did not need technology. And so Che is now a beetle who cannot even operate the door of her own house, nor can she operate a crossbow. And the beetles are the tech race. They are the ones who are they're tinkerers, and she can no longer tinker. She is tinkerless. She walks around in a tinker-free world. And this is causing her, she can't tell anybody, because that is like, it's just losing your identity as a beetle. And so Sten is like, hey, get your mind off it, because you're really bumming everybody out. So she needs to go over to Khanaphes and kind of investigate, because he's lost one of the other main, speakers at Collegium was over there studying Khanaphes and has vanished. No one's heard from him. So he sends Che to go investigate. And I love this because Thalric, when he finds out that Che is there, because Thalric is also there, having been sent on another mission. That was an Ablet of Absolute. Thalric thinks that Stenwald is doing his best to get his family killed. And this is so true. I love that line, because Stenwald continually sends his children, his relatives, his adopted children, he sends them on these incredibly dangerous missions for which they are not qualified. He did that all through the first 4 books, and he does it here too. And Thalric's like, why does Stenwald hate his relatives? He's trying to kill them all. And it's really because Stenwald can only trust them. And again, something else that Tchaikovsky is just so good at, it's so good here, is this kind of geopolitical, like, Cold War that's taking place. Like, there is a peace, there's a tentative peace, but everyone is like everyone kind of feels the war's coming, or whatever, or the ones that do, and no one trusts the other cities. No city trusts another city state. Like, are they planning on getting an ally to restart the war? And so everyone has to make these geopolitical decisions under it's all game theory. They have to imagine what the other person is going to do and try to counter it before it happens. And you just don't see this a lot in the post-war stuff, where one nation has not been completely annihilated. There's literally just been an armistice. And Tchaikovsky just does it so well. And in that piece, the characters, many of them don't know what to do with themselves now that the war's over. The war lasted for so long, and everyone was just kind of focused on the war for so long, that many of them, like even Che, but Thalric for sure, but Che as well, are trying to find their place in the war, or their place in this post-war reality. And really, they almost miss it, because during the war, everyone's role and job was extremely clear, and there is a satisfaction and a comfort in that clarity of purpose, rather than just kind of like, well, what am I supposed to do now? I was good at what I did here, and I knew what I was supposed to do here, and now I have no idea. And I think we as humans can understand that when we lose that clarity of purpose and feeling adrift, even if our purpose was something as heinous as, being charged with killing as many of the opposition as possible. It's just so good. It's just such an exploration of like geopolitics and the human psyche. It's just really good. It would not be an apt book without a mighty battle. And guys, Adrian Tchaikovsky may be the #1 siege writer in fantasy. And I do not say this lightly. I may have to put him above Steven Erikson, which is something, because man, I love Sieges and Malazan. And KJ Parker, who, man, KJ Parker loves the siege, but the siege in this book is so good. It is so tense. My palms were sweating, and I had to keep, like, that's one of the things that kept me reading, is I had to know, like, how this was going to go. It is just, I love battles that require cleverness. It is general versus general, or commander versus commander, and coming up with strategies, and then watching the other side suffer because the opposing side came up with a new strategy, but then these guys adapt to that strategy, and now, like, changing back and forth, like the Iliad, the Greeks winning and then the Trojans winning. Like, I love it, and Tchaikovsky is at the top of his game here. It's tremendous. It's the siege in the Scarab Path is one of my favorite in all of fantasy, and I have read many, many sieges. I love military fantasy. It's just so good. It's so good. And again, he continues that exploration here of technology furthering, or sorry, the warfare furthering the progress of technology, just by necessity. Like, that's like a common through line through all of these books. I like that it continues discussions about warfare, about how the only way to process the massive amounts of devastation brought about by these technological advancements in war is you cannot learn people's names. You cannot treat them as humans fed into the meat grinder. You have to think of them as each individual as a piece in the machine of warfare. They are merely cogs. They do not have sentience. They are just pieces that turn the wheels of progress. Because if you learn their names, like, you don't want to talk to them. Please don't talk to me. Like, please do not tell me your name. I cannot learn anything about you, because then I will feel sad that you are being fed to the meat grinder. And that's terrible. That's terrible. But the alternative is to not and get overrun by your enemies. It's just so good, and such a great exploration. Tchaikovsky is so good here. Some of the themes, I love the themes in Shadow of the Apt. And here, this book has a running theme of tradition versus progress. Like, the traditions exist, and devotion and duty to the old ways versus the new ways that are nothing like this, but can, where's the balance? Like, at what point are you holding and actually literally harming your people by holding to these old ways rather than embracing these new ways that can keep you alive, that can protect your people? At what point is tradition damaging? At what point is your arrogance for holding on to the glory days harming you and the people around you? Themes of loyalty, explorations of loyalty is, as you know, one of my favorite themes in all of fantasy. The loyalty to one's city, to one's nation, the loyalty to one's friends, those close to you, the loyalty to one's people, to the leaders of your city or nation. Like, the exploration of each of those, and when it becomes toxic to remain loyal, or remaining loyal even when it seems like you shouldn't. Like, what causes us to fight? Like, what is it about loyalty that causes us to fight even when it seems to be hopeless? Like, what is important to us as humans that we will go out there and defy the odds and put our lives and the lives of those around us on the line in order to protect that? Themes of heroism. What makes a hero? Like, what is a hero? Is the hero the person that's there, or is heroism an inherent quality? Like, do you have to have the qualities of a hero in order to be one? Or is there a gap, like, where a hero needs to stand, and anyone who fills it becomes a hero by standing in this hero-shaped hole? What makes these heroes? What creates them? And is there such thing as heroism, or is it just regular people doing extraordinary things. And there's Tchaikovsky, I think, in Guns of the Dawn, like, I love the romance in Guns of the Dawn, and I don't generally like romance. And I like some of the romance in here. There's actually quite a bit of romance, considering what a militarily focused book this is. And one relationship I do not like. I do not like it. I do not like it. I just do not, I do not like it. But one of them I like a lot. Like, I like one of the relationships a ton. And I like some of the new characters. Like the Khanaphes beetle, Amnon. I love Amnon. I love Amnon. What a good character. The head of the guard of Khanaphes, just love him. Absolutely love Amnon. And so I like these different kinds of relationships. They are not all the same. They're very different. And some of them are just, you're just like, oh, you're just like, ugh, because you know people like that, and you know people who've been in those situations, and then some of them you're like, oh, and then some of them you're like, ugh. I think Tchaikovsky handles this really, really well here. And again, guys, this is creepy. It's a creepy book. The first half especially is filled with horror elements that generally, I'm like, I don't want to read this in the dark. My wife had gone to bed, and, we were out of town on vacation, and I'm in the other part of the hotel room, and I'm like, man, I don't want to read this in the dark, like, by myself. It's so creepy, but it's excellent. It's excellent. Guys, this is absolutely tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. Like, one of my favorite books of the year that I read in November. I'm so mad. I'm so mad that I stopped reading these. I will definitely be reading Sea-Watch soon. I have some stuff I kind of have to catch up with, but I'll be reading Sea-Watch soon, absolutely. I love this series, and I'm definitely going to finish. Guys, on the Kingpin approval system. Boom! This is a Superb Plus. It might even be a Superb Plus Plus. I give this book 6 scarabs, 2 mummies, and an anthill. Boom! Boom! Anyway, guys, so good. Have you read Shadows of the Apt? If you have, did you like Scarab Path? Like, where is that on the continuum of books you like? Please don't tell me crap that happens after the Scarab Path, please. Please don't go down there and be like, oh, we'll just wait. Please stop. Don't tell me to just wait. Please don't. Please don't. Guys, that's it for me for today. As always, information about my Patreon and Discord is down in the description, and I'll see you next time, guys.